Many students are told personal pronouns should never be used in IELTS essays because they'll make the essay style too informal and not academic enough. In case you don't know, personal and possessive pronouns are words like I, my, we, you, and they. The IELTS test has 2 written tasks to be completed in 60 minutes, and so it's helpful to first clarify what those tasks are. Task 1 uses a prompt and visual information as a question. The task requires you to read, summarize, and report essential elements. The organization of your writing needs to be logical to meet the task achievement criteria, and so there should be an introduction, a summary, and reporting paragraph. It's also a good idea to think of this task writing as a report. Task 2 uses a proposition or suggests a view. The task requires you to understand the proposition and respond to the prompt instructions. The prompt may ask you to discuss both views, discuss advantages, ask whether you agree, or ask you to think why something is the way it is and consider solutions, measures, or proposals. Organization of your writing needs to be logical and follows an introduction, development of the topic paragraph, and conclusion pattern. In contrast to Task 1, which is evidence-based purely on the information that you would find in a report, Task 2 asks you to respond and develop ideas in response to the question and in the way the question asks you to. It often requires you to introduce your own objective-based ideas, examples, or evidence, and may lead you to offer your own opinion based on the argument constructed. Objectivity over being subjective is the preferred style of writing that you should aspire to over the course of your IELTS preparation. There are ways of writing objectively, but in some cases it's unavoidable to use personal pronouns such as I, my, or they, for example, if you use evidence which is related to your personal situation. I can try to push your writing in that direction by offering you some examples before we look at ways personal pronouns can be incorporated into your writing as objectively as possible. Which of these sentences do you regard as being more objective? I think that there are more advantages to cities of a mass transportation system than the disadvantages of infrastructure cost and the initial disturbance in construction. On balance, I'm sure that the long-term advantages to cities of an effective mass transportation system in general must outweigh the initial cost and disturbance. It would seem then that the long-term advantages of a cleaner, reliable and efficient mass transportation system benefit cities more than the initial high costs and construction upheaval. So, it should be clear that objective writing requires some development in your current skills and requires you to support and evidence your own ideas. There are further ways to avoid subjective writing. Let's look at these examples. I believe that international sporting events encourage good relations between nations. There is good reason to believe that international sporting events encourage good relations between nations. This essay proposes that international sporting events encourage positive relations between nations. Clearly, if you eat too much fast food, you'll get fat. If the public generally eat too much, then the rates of obesity are likely to increase. If a person eats too much fast food, that person will get fat. Can you see that I'm suggesting you need to find a balance between your informal writing, or subjective writing, and writing for university? In other cases, many students insist on writing in what they believe to be an academic style throughout the test, which leads to flowery or convoluted writing, when above all you need to do is present a clear, logical and progressive essay response to the question. Examples like this either suggest that students have not understood a particular question or do not understand the IELTS format and the IELTS requirements. IELTS publishes a public criteria on bands and scores, and it's available in the description below. It's interesting to note that the criteria does not specify guidance on the use of personal pronouns, informal or formal language, nor academic language. So what do past question papers suggest? If we look at the official Cambridge examination papers, they seem to accept that the use of personal pronouns may sometimes be inevitable. Looking at standard example questions and studying what they require you to do, discuss both of these views and give your opinion, give reasons for your answer and include any relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. To what extent do you agree or disagree? We can see that the use of the personal pronoun you in the question will probably result in the use of the personal pronoun at some point in the essay response. But in order to improve your score, there should always be the aim to write with a degree of objectivity, and to do so, try and follow some of these rules. Rule number 1. Read the question carefully. Does the question require you to give your opinion or give direct examples of your knowledge or experience? And think about how you can incorporate these into your objective writing. Rule number 2. Understand the style of writing required, whether it's a report or essay, and write in an appropriate style. Rule number 3. If you're forced to use personal pronouns, don't start every sentence with the subject I. Rule number 4. IELTS is not an academic writing test. It's simply a language test, so don't try to write a paper, a thesis, a study, or a report for university. You don't have the time or the word count, and your writing will stand out as inappropriate for the task. To sum up, it's perfectly acceptable to achieve a good score in IELTS by using a variety of language and writing in an appropriate style for Task 1 or Task 2 using the appropriate vocabulary. And in Task 2, this may include using pronouns as and when they're needed.